Hi, welcome back to Analyzing with Grace, and today we are analyzing Vertigo. It is from 1958 by Alfred Hitchcock, and it is genreized as a psychological thriller, which is kind of exciting because thrillers and horrors and stuff is my favorite. I love it. So first, I'll just give a basic summary of the film. So, we have this guy, Scotty Ferguson. He is an ex-cop because he left the force because he's been diagnosed with acrophobia, which is fear of heights. So he can't go on high places or go up ladders or go upstairs or anything because he gets vertigo and he gets paralyzed with fear. Or in the beginning, he tried to stand on a step stool, but once he got to the final step, he looked out of his window in his high-level apartment, and he looked down at the ground, and you could see the screen went, whoa, and he got vertigo, and he fell off the step stool. He was fine, obviously, because this is the beginning of the movie. And then he goes to see his friend Gavin Elster. He goes to see him, basically, and Gavin Elster, he says, "My wife Madeline is acting very strange. Could you follow her and take notes of her activities to see if she's actually being weird or she's actually just basically to see what's going on with her?" So he follows her. I'll get onto more of this later, but it's very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. He's a stalker basically. He's been hired. He's been asked to follow her. I forget if he's getting paid or not. He's been asked to follow her, but yet he makes it so creepy. But we'll get into that in a second. So he follows her around. She gets flowers. She goes to a grave. She sits in front of an art installation at an art viewing showcase building. And we find out, well, in this part of the film, we find out that she may be possessed or haunted by the spirit of her ancestor, who it's Carlotta Valdez, I believe. Again, I don't have a script for these things. I'm literally required to not have a script, so I'm going off of what I think. All this is coming naturally. I felt like you should know that. I think it's Carla or Carlotta Valdez. Who died of suicide when she was 26 years old, and Madeline is also 26 years old. So they think, well, Scotty thinks, oh, what if she kills herself? What if she is possessed or haunted by this spirit and she's making her go do things? And her husband's let's just I don't know, man, this is weird, basically. And so she tries to jump into the San Francisco Bay, and Scotty being he, goes in and saves her and brings her to his house and make sure she's okay. And he's trying to help her figure out who she is, or to help her figure everything out. So they go the different places that her ancestor went to in the past, and to jog her memory, her past memory of her past life, or just of the person that's haunting her, of her past life. So they go to a bunch of different places, and it's there's some tension, they're falling in love with each other a little bit. They're falling in love with each other. They weren't supposed to, but they did. And so finally they go, I forget exactly where, they go to this old place to finally jog her memory, and she's yes, I remember everything. And then they kiss, because of course they do. But then she goes, no, this wasn't meant to be. This isn't how it should be. Maybe in another life, but not in this one. And she runs up into a church, and she runs up the stairs, up to the very top. And as we remember, Scotty tries to follow her, but he can't get up the stairs very far because he gets vertigo. And then we hear a blood-curdling scream as Madeline falls from the top. We see her body go down the window. So now, as we know of in the film, Madeline is deceased, unfortunately. But then, after, I forget how long, Scotty finds Judy Barton, who, let's see, Madeline had, like bleach blonde hair, up in a little updo and everything, and she wore, like, I'm trying to think, it's like a pencil skirt with, like, the business suit top, and it was gray, a very specific gray, and she wore these certain shoes and everything, and she had a little, like, a beauty mark dot that she did her makeup with. And then Judy doesn't wear that stuff. She's got, like, reddish, orangish, like, curly hair up close to her head like this, but it's her face. Scotty sees her face, and he's like, there's something about you. There's something about you. And Judy goes, oh, this woman dumped you. Like, I'm just assuming that I look like someone that dumped you. And then she looks through his eyes, and she's like, oh, she died, didn't she? We find out that Judy was disguised as Madeline. Epic plot twist. Epic plot twist. I like this plot twist. It's very fun. We find out that Gavin had already killed his wife. In the very beginning, he says, oh, like, Madeline's the last of her family line. I want to take care of her, make sure she's okay, because she's acting weird. She's the last of her family line, so he killed her already. Later, like, the very, very end of the movie, Judy admitted that he had already snapped her neck. The real Madeline's neck. That Gavin had already killed her. For her money, and he hired Judy. He gave her some money. It's not, like, a very small bit of Madeline's money, of her inheritance, basically. Well, he inherited it from her once she passed, but basically, he pays Judy a little bit. She gets a little bit of money to disguise herself as Madeline and act suspicious. That way, when Scotty was following her, there would be reasonable cause for her. That way, the suicide would look real. There'd be a reasonable cause of, oh yeah, she died of suicide because she wasn't well in the head, is what they were trying to get across. And that was the ruling at the end, which is kind of crazy. So we found out he had already killed Madeline, and they knew that Scotty had vertigo, so they knew he wouldn't be able to get up to the top of the tower fast enough. Judy claims she ran up the tower to try and stop everything because she fell in love with Scotty when she wasn't supposed to. So she runs up to the top, she claims, this is at the very end, she claims that when Madeline died, she died. She ran up to the top to try and stop them, but he threw the real Madeline off the roof because she was already deceased. And the scream that we hear when Madeline falls is actually Judy screaming out. She says it was out of, like, desperation or anguish because she wanted everything to stop, because she was so upset, because she didn't want to keep this lie up anymore. But we find all this out because Scotty falls in love with Judy because she reminds him so much of Madeline. So he, like, has her dye her hair. He has her wear the exact same gray outfit and everything. That's why I commented on the style earlier. He makes her wear the exact same shoes, everything. Same updo, same bleach blonde, same everything. Because he wants Judy to be Madeline, essentially, because Madeline's the one that he fell in love with. But then, and Judy does this. Judy does this because she's in love with Scotty, and she just wants him to love her. She knows that he loved Madeline when she was Madeline. He didn't know that yet. So she's like, if I look like her, then he'll love me. Which is so sad. Girl, there's so much better dudes out there. To be fair, this was filmed in 1958, so there might not have been. Anyways. I lost track for a second, but, oh yeah, the dead giveaway, she wore a necklace that was in the portrait that, Madeline would go sit in front of. That was part of the scheme or whatever, with that necklace that she got to make herself seem obsessed with the past woman that was haunting her. So she wore that necklace as Judy, and Scotty is like, he looks at her like this. And then they get in the car. She's like, oh, we're going to dinner. And he's like, yeah, we're going to dinner. And so they go, he starts driving to dinner. And they actually drive to the place where Madeline died. And he grabs her. And he's like, yes, we need to act this out. You'll be Madeline. And then we'll finally be free. And he starts dragging her inside and dragging her up the stairs. And he's like telling the story to Jude. She is Judy. I don't know why I did quotations. He's telling the story to Judy of how Madeline died. And she's like, no, Scotty, I don't want to go up there. I'm scared. She tells him, no, I don't want to. I'm scared. And he's just like, has his hands on her shoulders like this and like around her shoulders. And he's like, no, and this is how it went. And then she went up there and then she fell. But it was you, wasn't it? He like grabs her and he like kind of like, not chokes her, but not, he's kind of like spiraling, which is kind of ironic because of like the Vertigo, like visual spiral. But he's like, is grabbing her because he's like, it was you, wasn't it? Like, kind of forced, because he's like realizing all this stuff and he's getting more upset. He's not trying to hurt her, obviously. He's just like I said, he's literally spiraling because he realized that he's been betrayed. And he's like, you all set this up, didn't you? You set everything up. And he's like narrating everything. He's like, so why did you scream? And that's when she says, like, I wanted everything to stop. And he's like realizing all of this. That all of this is a lie, that Judy is Judy and wasn't Madeline. The Madeline that he met was never the real Madeline because she had already been murdered by her husband for her money. And Gavin had already left town and just left Judy and just left her by herself, which is really sad. These guys have to treat their ladies better. That's all I'm saying. They really don't treat them well at all. But she's admitting everything, and she's like, oh, please, like, just, I think they kiss for a final time. She's just, like, begging him, essentially, and he's still upset, and they're right by the window that Madeline fell from. Oh, yeah. They make it all the way to the top, and Scotty looks out the window, and he's like, I did it, because remember, he couldn't get up there the first time when the actual Madeline, when he thought that she had, jumped off of the top, because he was like physically spiraling because he had vertigo. And now he's like mentally and psychologically spiraling. It's a cool parallel. Psychologically spiraling because of all of these events that he found out. And then, I keep wanting to say Madeline. Judy's backed up to the window. She sees someone emerge from the shadows. It's a nun. And because they're in a church, and so a few nuns came when, Madeline had jumped off of the building, because they work there. But a nun appears from the shadows, and she goes, I heard voices. And I was kind of creeped out by that, because she emerged from the shadows. That was some lighting. Like, she just appeared. And Madeline sees her, she gets scared, and she falls out the window. I'm gonna get some silence for that. And so now, Scotty's left all by himself again. And all the nun does is she just, does that, and she rings the bell that's in the, top of the tower, and then the movie ends. It just, cuts to black. What do you mean it just cuts to black? That's what it did. That's what it did. It's a really interesting film. I did really enjoy watching it. That was my really long 13.5-minute summary. So now we can get into aspects of cinematography and cutting and how that gives an emotional impact. Basically, the scene that I'm going to give an example to, I'm going to give examples to two, the main two that I've talked about this whole time. The first one is when he's following her in her car. So they stretched this out a while. I mean, not forever, but it was an uncomfortable length. And that's what it's meant to do. Remember, mise en scene. This is our little buzzword. I'll put a little buzzword up here. Let's just go mise en scene. Like that. I think that'd be kind of funny. I think I'll do that. Mise en scene means that everything in a film has a purpose. Everything, the directors, the light operators, the actors, everything is that stays in the final cut is done for a reason. So these things that I'm about to say have a purpose. Everything discussed in any of these videos has a purpose. That's like the point that I'm gonna emphasize on like every single time. So I'm talking a lot. That's because this one's going like I'm talking really quickly, so that's why I'm like breathing really heavily. I don't know why I'm keeping that in this edition, but you're getting the raw footage. You're welcome. I love you. Basically, we get shots of Scotty's face as he's driving in his car, and he's just like watching Madeline, and that goes on for a bit. And we have this music. We just have this like low kind of like underscore of like flute like instrumentals, and it's kind of off-putting. Like it's meant to be off-putting. We just have a scene of him like following a woman in her car, watching her, just staring at her as she drives, following her closely around every single corner she turns down. We have this music that's not helping. It's contributing to the fact that we are uncomfortable, that this is an uncomfortable situation. So we get shots like that of his face, watching her, watching Madeline. I'm just going to refer her to Madeline in this part, in this scene. And then we get point of view shots. And I could do another buzzword thing. Point of view shots are where the camera acts as the character's eyes. Like, one of the best ones I can reference is like from Halloween. She's like hiding in the closet, and I think it's her name, Michael Myers. We are the character in the closet watching his face. Like, the camera is the character's eyes. So in a sense, we are the character's eyes. Because remember, the camera is the audience. We're the audience, so we're the camera watching the scene. So when we get point of view shots, we are literally the character's eyes watching what is happening. So we get those. We get point of view shots of Scotty's eyes watching Madeline in her car as she's driving away. And that's also creepy because first we see him watching her, and then we're seeing as him watching her. And he follows her to every single location. I know he was asked to do that, but that also is, like, kind of unsettling. It creates this air of, like, uneasiness around it. He goes in a closet and, like, watches her from the shadows. Very intense lighting. Like, all of this part of his face, shadows. We just get this. Just watching her, like, out of a door as she just, like, is, like, in a little market getting flowers. And then we go to, like, a cemetery. She sits in front of the grave of the woman that's like possessing her, that we are led to believe is possessing or haunting her, making her do these things. We think it's her inhabiting Madeline's body. It's very warm, very soft, very like fairy core, like very fairy tale, very comforting. It's like romance kind of lighting, where you get like the soft lighting with like the soft, gentle colors. Like it's that. He's watching her sit or stand in front of the grave headstone. And then she leaves, and he, like, jots down the name, and then he like, saunters off. And it's really interesting that they do that kind of contrast. We go from them talking about, we go from a scene where the music and the lighting matches the cinematography, with him following her, with that kind of uncomfortableness. But then we get a scene of, like, the lighting and the colors do not match the cinematography or the music or what we know is happening in the story, in like the narrative structure, like where we're at in the plot of the story. Basically, I'm using all the buzzwords for this, but it does not match at all. It's like very warm, very light, very soft. It does not match. And then we watch her sit and look at the art piece installation, where we see the painting where the necklace that kind of reveals her identity and the plot later. But she's sitting there with the flowers, and the importance of the flowers, that the woman in the painting is holding the same bouquet of flowers that Madeline bought. So she's doing a lot of things to like make them think that she is going crazy. Basic, she's spiraling. They could like a more calmed, like sophisticated version of spiraling, you could say. It's getting to like the 20-minute mark, so I'm gonna cut it a little, like try and wrap it up. But long story short, it creates this ease of uncomfort because that's like one of the main emotions of the film that they try and we're uncomfortable with a lot of the things happening because it gets us more invested in the scenes. It gets us more invested in the story, and it delivers more of the emotional impact when we figure out all these like details of like how Scotty was lied to and how like Judy was part of this plot. We get more emphasis on these details of what's happening in the story, and it gets us more invested in the story. That's what the film's all about, in getting your audience invested into the story and putting emphasis on different things in the story, and then that in turn gets the audience more invested, and so on. It's a little cycle to keep you engaged, to keep you watching a film. One little thing that I will comment on before I end this video for this film is the final scene when he's grabbing her and like taking her up the stairs. That is also another very uncomfortable scene where we were worrying for Madeline in the beginning when he was following her in his car and hiding in the closet and around the corner in the art museum. We're like really, really worried for her. At least I was really worried for her, because when he's grabbing her and dragging her up these stairs, telling her what happened with Madeline, like there's so many scenes where and there's like contrast, super dark black lighting behind him. There's no light behind him. All we see is his face in the darkness. That's another cinematography / lighting aspect to help deliver the emotional aspects of the film. It all comes together. It's all there for a purpose, and all of the elements like overlap together. It's like making a little cake. We have the cinematography, we have the lighting, we have the music, we have like everything together to make a little cake that is the film. So all of that comes together to create, I keep saying uncomfortable and unease, but it is. It's all coming together to create this really uncomfortable, like, montage or, like, collection of moments in this film. And that's the movie doing its job as a psychological thriller. Like, psychological thrillers are supposed to make their audiences uncomfortable or worried or make them think about certain things and be like, oh, or, like, that's the job of the film. That's the job of a film in general, but like thrillers, specifically psychological films and psychological thrillers, that's their job. And it's to make you feel a certain way, most likely uncomfortable, but it's supposed to like make you think about certain things. And we're thinking a lot in this film. Like we're thinking about, like I said, all the different lies that were told, the different emotions of the different characters, and how that makes us feel as an audience. Especially in those like point of view shots where we can be Madeline looking at Scotty in the final scene in the tower, and vice versa, where him looking at her in the tower or in the car. Like all of this is to give us, like I've said, emphasis on emotions and feelings and context in the scenes, in the plot. In turn, get us more invested in the film, and then we pay more attention on what was put emphasis on for us. It's all a cycle. It's all a cycle to make a really good movie. Thank you, Alfred Hitchcock, for making Vertigo. Again, 1958. A lot of these early 1900 films are so good. I mean, some of the early ones don't have, like, narrative structure, but they're still fun to watch. But, like, this age, this golden age, is where we get some of the best films imaginable. Because these are the films that, like, are film history, essentially. Like, I asked my parents, have you ever watched Vertigo? And one of them, I think, said yes. And the other one said no, but I've heard of it. Like, even if you haven't seen a lot of the films from the mid to late 1900s, from, like, probably, like, the 40s to the late 60s, if you haven't, might be 30s or 40s to late 60s, because 67 and 69 is when, like, television was killing the movie theater industry. But that's a story for another time. Like, all of those films are part of, like, film history. So even if you haven't seen them, you've definitely heard of them. But that was all for my analysis of Vertigo from 1958 by Alfred Hitchcock, talking about scenes of cinematography and how it affects the emotional impact. Thank you for watching.